Hi again, everybody. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck, a weekly interview show where we talk with interesting people. And today from Catholic Charities, we have Lynn Zewleski. Lynn, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Chuck.
Thanks for joining us on Around the Town with Chuck today. Lynn, give us a definition of what Catholic Charities is and what your roles and responsibilities with the organization are.
Okay. Well, Catholic Charities is a multi-social service agency, meaning that we have several different programs that we have at the agency. We actually are an arm of the bishop, so we are called to carry out the charity work of the church on behalf of the bishop. Each Catholic Charities agency really looks at what the needs are in the community, and so our programs are geared toward what is the need in Ashtabula County. So Catholic Charities throughout the country would all perhaps have different programs. Even within the Diocese of Youngstown, they have different programs. We look at where those needs are and how we can fit without duplicating in our local communities.
When I looked at the notes that you gave me, the first thing that struck me was over 70 years here in Ashtabula County.
Yes, we first started providing services in 1944 in Ashtabula County, and we started as an adoption and a child welfare agency. And so our services have changed over time to meet, again, the needs of the community, but we've been serving here for a long time. And when we first started, I find it interesting that our only two funders were, what is now called the United Way, but it was the Community Chest and the Diocese. And so certainly those two funders are still with us today, and we are most grateful for that. But our mix of funding has also added and changed over the years. But yeah, we've been providing service for a long time here.
Yeah, over 70 years. That's incredible. Like you said, your funding comes through the Bishop's Appeal from the Diocese of Youngstown and United Way.
Well, those are two of the funders. The Bishop's Appeal, and certainly we are most grateful for everyone who supports that. About 40% of our budget comes from the Bishop's Appeal. And so that allows us to do many things for people who might fall between the gaps or don't meet the income guidelines in government programs or other programs. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to work with individuals and to really think outside the box. And then, of course, the United Way is also one of our funders, but we also have government funding, state and federal, that flows some of it through the local Department of Job and Family Services. We receive senior service levy funding, as well as local foundations. The Ashtabula Foundation, the Conneaut Foundation have both been very generous to us over the years, as well as individual donations and contributions. So it's quite a mix. And again, it depends upon each program as to where that funding comes from.
That's great. And of course, in the middle of the winter, you have one major exciting fundraiser that I know about, Men Who Cook. Talk a little bit about that, and that's been going quite a while now.
Yes, we celebrated Men Who Cook our 10th year last January, and so it is very exciting. It's usually the Saturday after Martin Luther King holiday in January, and it is an event where about between 20 and 25 chefs come, and they each bring a dish. So we have soups, we have side dishes, we have main dishes, we have desserts, and everybody who pays a ticket fee to enter gets to come in and sample from all of those various chefs. And some people think that you might not get full because we're saying
you get full.
appetizer size portions, but really the chefs are very generous with the size that they do, and most people tell us they can't even get to all the chefs. And so all the money that we raise for that event goes to our Basic Needs Assistance Program. And for the last couple of years, we've raised over $23,000 in that evening is what we've netted. So again, we have close to 400 people who participate and who come. And we have some raffles and things also that people can participate in that night. But it's a really fun night and kind of gets everyone out of the house in January. We've had some nights where the weather hasn't been so great, but you know what? We've had great crowds, yes. Yeah. So we're very blessed in that way.
400 you're talking about, that's near a sellout or is a sellout?
We seat for 400, and so I think last year we probably got to close to 390, so we're pretty close to selling out.
And what do the judges do in this fundraiser? What's their main role?
Well, since the men are cooking, we have women who serve as judges.
Makes sense.
And so we have a panel of usually 5 or 6 judges, and they sample all of the dishes. So they are required to take a sample of each of them, and then they determine what they see as their favorite dish. And so whoever wins that award is the judge's dish. And then we also have what we call the People's Choice, and everybody gets a ticket when they enter, and then there's tip jars at each of the chef stations. And so individuals put their ticket into the chef jars, but we also take cash and checks in those jars. And so really we total up those at the end of the evening, and whatever chef has the most money, whether it's ticket and a combination of the real money in the jar, wins the People's Choice Award.
Do you find that as each year you've had it, that more men are coming through as far as being cooks, or they're pretty much the same group?
It always changes. There's usually 2 or 3 new each year. Some do it and say, wow, this is kind of more than what I anticipated, just because it's a lot to ask them to cook for 350 people when you're not used to doing that. But then there are always chefs who visit the event and say, you know what, I can do this, we can cook. So we actually encourage chefs to come and kind of visit the first time, so they get a feel for what the event is, to see whether or not they want to do it. But again, we're so grateful for all of the men that many of them have cooked for many years, and so we are very grateful.
Mm-hmm. Lynn Zewleski, Director of Catholic Charities, is my guest today at Around the Town with Chuck. Lynn, let's talk about some of the services provided today. Basic needs assistance, I'm assuming food, clothes. What else would be considered basic needs?
So really anything that one needs, as a basic need. So we're talking food, shelter, clothing, prescriptions. Sometimes we think out of the box, and if you need work boots to go to a job, or a uniform, something like that. But it really is, our mission is to provide service to need, and we follow the corporal works of mercy, really. And so, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing the naked, giving shelter. So all of those things really are incorporated into that basic needs assistance. And we find that we are continuing to have a very high demand for those that are coming to us for that type of assistance.
And who qualifies for this?
That we look at, we do have, again, if it's a grant, there's some eligibility that we have to meet the requirements of that grant. But really we look at anyone that's coming, and again, our Catholic Charities dollars, which is what we talked about, dollars that are from the appeal, we really look at it case by case on that individual situation's need. So, someone may have been working and is now laid off and needs help. Someone may have been sick or in the hospital and needs help, or whatever the situation would be. We look at that individually and determine what the need is. And then from a discussion from that person, we determine what we can help them with.
Are there any kind of limitations as to how much they can get in a year, let's say?
Yes, we do try and not help more than once in 12 months, because we do want to help as many people as possible and not keep helping the same individuals. So certainly we have made exceptions sometimes for things for food, diapers, formula, those things we tend to be a little more lenient on. But when we're looking at rent and utilities, we do try and stick to the one time in 12 months, just so we can serve as many as we can.
Mm-hmm. Another service is housing counseling.
Housing counseling, we are the only HUD agency in Ashtabula County, and in housing counseling we work with the homeless, but really all ends of the spectrum on housing. So as I said, from the homeless to those that are looking to purchase their first home, we do pre-purchase counseling. We feel that much of the mortgage crisis maybe wouldn't have happened if people would have understood the kind of loan they were getting into. And so that is a real important piece of making sure that individuals know what they're getting into and that they can afford that payment. And so just because you qualify for something doesn't mean that you can afford it. And so we look at a budget, all of the things that are coming in, all of the things that are going out, and making sure that that mortgage payment is going to fit into that individual's budget, as well as foreclosure counseling and default counseling. And that is for those that obviously have fallen behind on their house payment. We work as kind of an intermediary with the lenders, and it's a complicated process, and so we intervene and make sure that we advocate and see if sometimes the lenders will reduce the monthly payment, they will reduce the interest, or they may enter into a forbearance agreement. So we really are working again on behalf of the client, but really trying to negotiate with the lender on helping them out in that situation.
Opening doors parenting classes, is this something new?
It's something we've been doing now for probably about 18 months. And again, in our basic needs, we're always looking at, self-sufficiency. That's our goal, is really that people don't need us, is that we can help them become self-sufficient. And often when they're in crisis, it's hard to think of anything besides what that immediate need is. But we really do have conversations about other things, going forward, how wants and needs, prioritizing, all of those type of things. But so this is kind of a stem from that. It's a parenting class for those that are either pregnant or have children up to the age of 5, and it's 10 weeks, and we start the evening with a dinner, and it really is helping parents understand that they are their child's first and primary educator, and helping them understand all of the resources and things that they need to help their child be ready when they enter kindergarten. And we've had a great turnout for that, really up to sometimes 20-some people participating.
Wow.
So we've been really pleased, with that, and we will continue to offer that.
Mm-hmm. Another basics needs service, something I'm a little familiar with, because my wife's kind of involved in this one,
Right.
Cooking Matters at the Store.
And again, talking about that self-sufficiency. And so Cooking Matters at the Store is a hands-on tour through a grocery store. And so we've been, very blessed that your wife, Pat, has been willing to do the training for this. And so she leads this tour. And we've done it in Conneaut as well as in Ashtabula. And we take a group of individuals, usually up to 10, and we go through the aisles, or Pat goes through the aisles of the store, and they have 4 primary goals. So they want to look at learning how to buy more fruits and vegetables on a budget, how to read labels as far as comparing unit prices. So how much is that? What is the better deal? And looking how to buy more whole grains, and looking at how to read a nutrition label. And so they will go through the store, maybe pick up different cereals and look at how much sugar's in them, how much sugar's in other things. And so again, it's really very hands-on, but really teaching all of these skills to help individuals
service.
become, better shoppers, and how to utilize, whether it's their own money or food stamps, but how to make that stretch a little further, but in a healthier way. At the end of that tour, they are given a $10 gift certificate, and they have to go right then and there back to the store and purchase a meal for a family of 4 with that $10, but using the skills that they have just learned. And so again, it's a very popular class. We've been doing it for a couple of years, and we are blessed again by Pat and her willingness to do this. But we've had really good evaluations on that.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Now, did you come up with this?
No, it was actually through Catholic Charities USA and the Share Our Strength nonprofit, and so they kind of already were doing that, and so they made that available to all of their affiliates throughout the United States, and we took advantage of that opportunity.
Something that looks like will continue then.
Yes, hopefully it will.
Very good. What about distributions, Halo? That's Heavenly Angels Loving...
Holiday Angels
Holiday
Loving
Angels
Others, yes.
Loving
And so we have a
Others.
couple of distribution services, and Halo is our Christmas. It's a county-wide Christmas program. Been doing that for over 20 years, different names and different ways in Ashtabula County, but it really is a collaborative effort, and it's was done to really try and to avoid duplication for individuals that needed service, as well as for donors, that there would be one place that they could do if they wanted to help in some way with Christmas. And so there are 2 ways that people receive services. They can be adopted, and so that's for churches or organizations at Christmas want to adopt many of the sharing trees that you see in the churches. They get those names from us. And so we would provide them the names, and then they kind of take over from there. They contact the individuals, determine what they need, and then they are responsible for providing that Christmas directly with those families. The other way is not everyone is able to get adopted, and so they visit a distribution location, and Conneaut certainly has one, as well as in Ashtabula and various parts of the county. And so the individuals would come through, and they would be able to pick out toys for their family members, as well as receive food or a food voucher so that they could go to a store and purchase food for a holiday meal.
Boy, really a lot of great multiple services provided there. Financial literacy.
Financial literacy is something else that we believe is very important, and again, that's looking at really budgeting, what's coming in, what's going out, prioritizing wants and needs, and really starting that conversation that, you know, even if we assist you with this month's rent, how are you going to proceed going forward? So let's look and see how we can make that happen, or if we can make recommendations. And so really helping individuals understand, you know, how much income they need to sustain that rent or that mortgage payment, as well as their utilities and all of their household needs. And so really an important education piece. And so we try and educate and want to give individuals the tools to help them change their situation and better their situation, as well as not only individually, but we also do group sessions. And so we go to some of the schools, we go to the prison here, we go to really any organization that's interested in having us to talk to groups of individuals about, you know, credit, how it affects you going forward, about credit reporting, predatory lending, all of those types of things.
Protective services. Now you have guardianship, which I kind of know about, but then you have payship, which I don't know about.
Okay, so we'll start with guardianship. Guardianship is a pretty restrictive service. It's for those that are elderly, usually indigent, and don't have appropriate family or friends to help them. And they are actually deemed incompetent. So through a statement of expert evaluation by a physician, as well as a court investigation, it is decided that they can no longer make their individual day-to-day living decisions. And so it's not just us deciding that you're incompetent. There really is a whole process to make sure that it is the last resort. And so either one of our staff or volunteer guardian would be linked with this ward of the court, and they would be responsible for deciding where they live, making their medical decisions, really deciding what happens with that individual. But it is protective in nature. We work closely with Adult Protective Services as well, because individuals have been exploited or neglected, and so they are sometimes found in very bad situations and unable to speak for themselves to get them out of that situation. And so it is really the job of the guardian then to make sure that they're in a safe environment, that they're getting proper nutrition, that they're getting proper medical care, and really helping improve their quality of life in their final years. You know, we think of our parents or our grandparents and what would we want for them in those final years, and certainly we wouldn't want them to be, you know, neglected or abused. And so we want to give that same dignity and respect to all individuals who are seniors. The payship is a little less restrictive, and so the person is not deemed incompetent as in guardianship, but they are usually getting a Social Security disability because of a severe and persistent mental health illness. And so they are not, as I said, incompetent, but they are no longer able to manage their benefit. And so Social Security asks us to kind of step in, and so we manage their benefit for them. So we are responsible for making sure that they have housing, we pay their rent out of their funds, and all of their utilities, make sure that they have food, medical care, that all of that is taken care of, and then try and give them a little something that they would need or want for their own spending. And so that is usually very challenging because they are receiving $730 some, and so it's, as you might imagine, that is a challenge to find rent and pay utilities and do all of those things. But again, very vulnerable individuals who are often exploited. And I always say that when they get their check, they have a lot of friends that want to help them spend the money, but when it's time to pay the rent, the friends and the money both are long gone. So it really prevents them from being exploited and from becoming homeless. Landlords are often a little more willing to work with us because they know that we're going to be paying that rent on behalf of their tenant, and so they often will enter into agreements where they might not do so on their own.
Now, does Catholic Charities see clients on an everyday basis?
We do. We have our basic needs is a walk-in process right now on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But then on the other days, we are following up with those clients, scheduling our appointments, and seeing clients on those days as well. So it's been very busy. It's actually been very hard to meet all of the demand that we've had requests for.
What about demographics? What's that like?
Demographics, we serve all throughout the county, and I should mention that we aren't just in Ashtabula or just in Conneaut, but we do serve throughout the county, and it does pretty much match kind of, the demographics as far as population for the county. And again, it depends on programs. Certainly, as far as age, the guardianship program is all, 60 and above primarily. The payship program is actually about 20% over the age of 60, 80% under the age of 60. And then the others, it really just kind of varies, but it's more under the age of 60.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Catholic Charities of Ashtabula County. Now, are there any nearby counties that also have Catholic Charities?
Yes, in the Diocese of Youngstown, there is a regional agency that covers Mahoning, Trumbull, and Columbiana County, and then there's another agency that covers the Portage and Stark areas. And so there are 3 individual agencies in the Diocese of Youngstown. We are all incorporated separately, and so all decisions really are made pretty much by a local volunteer board at the local level.
So you never all meet together for anything?
Yes, we do actually. The directors meet monthly, and then we do have functions where we bring all the staff together for some staff development, exchanging of ideas within the different programs. And so we do have interaction like that within all of the diocese employees.
You mentioned working with adult services. You collaborate with a lot of other agencies too. Talk about some of those.
We do. There aren't, I don't think too many days go by that we don't have multiple encounters with many different agencies. So whether it be Job and Family Services, Community Action, Salvation Army, the St. Vincent de Paul groups, the mental health agencies, we are really collaborating and looking at how we can all really work together to best serve that client. We're seeing situations that are very complex, very multi-layered, and so it really takes sometimes many agencies working together to try and to solve a situation. And so I think that our county should be very proud of the way that we all work together. We kind of all know our niche and what we can or cannot do, and I know I'm very proud of all the agencies that we work with, and just know that we couldn't all accomplish what we do without working together.
Mm-hmm. Lynn, talk about the staff at Catholic Charities. Who all works there and what their specific roles?
We have 15 employees right now, and we have 3 that are in family services doing just the casework for basic needs. We have a part-time individual that's doing the housing and financial literacy. We also have a person that does homeless outreach for those that, as I said, are homeless and have a mental health diagnosis, and so we help work with them to get their disability, if that is indeed what they need, to help them not be homeless and to be off of the streets. We have 2 people that work in the protective services, and then we also have a abstinence educator that goes into the various school districts. It's a 5-day curriculum, really teaching students in junior high and high school about all risky behaviors, sex, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and what the consequences of their decisions are, and really teaching them about what a healthy relationship is and how to say no to some of those risky behaviors. And then obviously we have a couple of people that do the answer the phone, work at the front desk, as well as in the kind of the financial piece of it. As we've taken on, more grant responsibilities from, as I said, the state and federal, local, there's also a lot of paperwork and requirements that they want to see in order for you to get those funds. And so compliance and documentation is also very important.
Of course, Conneaut's very own Mary Jo Zewleski has worked at Catholic Charities for many a year.
I think it's around 25 years. She is, I always tell her, not our oldest employee, but our longest term employee. And so, yes, she has spent her time in adoption and then in payship. And so we're blessed for Mary Joan. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
She is a great lady. I guess I should ask you, where are you located?
We are located,
for those that may not know,
at 4200 Park Avenue on the 3rd floor of the First Merit Bank building. We can be reached obviously by visiting there or by calling 440-992-2121. And again, we do serve the entire county, even though we are located in Ashtabula. And I also should mention that you do not have to be Catholic to utilize any of our services, and that is a question that we are sometimes asked. And no, we because we are Catholic, we do serve all.
Mm-hmm. And have you always been located there?
We've been there for 20 years, but we were at the Donahoe Center at once. We were at another location on Main Avenue a couple of different times, once at the very early stages and then before we moved here. So, but we have been at this location for 20 years.
What would you say is your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge, I would say, is always ensuring funding, obviously to sustain the agency. And so there, whether it's grants or donors, you're always wanting to make sure that you can sustain that, so that you can continue to provide services for the county, and then just balancing the many things. As I said, there's a increased demand, and we're having a hard time meeting all of that demand. And so certainly all of that, and not being able to do that is also very taxing for our employees, not being able to serve everyone or having to say no. And so certainly we care about our employees and want to make sure that we can try and figure out a balance for them also.
How tough is it to have to say no?
It's very tough.
I would imagine.
It's because it's not because we want to, but certainly it's very difficult to have to tell someone no.
Mm-hmm. What are you most proud of about Catholic Charities?
I'm certainly proud of all of our staff and their dedication to the mission of Catholic Charities, and many of them, as we've discussed, have been there for many years, and they really just work tirelessly, always thinking of what is best for the clients and how they can best serve them. So I'm immensely proud and grateful for our staff, and I'm proud of all the ways that we can serve clients. We think out of the box, and we try and think of different things to do, and so I'm extremely proud of just that we've been here for 70 years and been able to serve many people in Ashtabula County, and to assist them at a time that perhaps they didn't have hope. And so just the fact that we are able to not only maybe provide some assistance, but also give them hope. And how I guess we treat people. We really want to treat everyone that comes in, in the face of Jesus, and to treat them with dignity and respect. And we hope that with each and every encounter that we are able to do that. 72
years of going strong. That's amazing. And you do such a great job there as a director of Catholic Charities. And I want to thank you again for coming on Around the Town with Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. We're always happy to get the word about what we do, and really to say thank you to the community that has supported us for those 72 years.
Okay, very good. Lynn Zewleski, Director of the Ashtabula County Catholic Charities. And we'll see you next week on Around the Town with Chuck.